The treaties they broke, the Galactic Union was once proud of its unity. Dozens of species sat together at a great table made of stardust and hope. And in the middle of that table, Earth's seat remained empty for centuries, until one day, humans came. They didn't come with warships or demands. They came with science, healing technology, and peace offers. The galaxy laughed quietly, calling them dreamers, but Earth only smiled and offered more. Humans fixed broken water systems. On desert planets, they cured diseases that alien doctors had given up on. They shared food, power, and ideas freely. They forgave insults and ignored minor attacks. Everyone said the same thing. Humans are too kind for war. But deep inside the humans, something was waiting, a lesson passed from generation to generation. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Then it happened. A small human colony on the edge of the Orion sector suddenly went silent. No distress signal, no report, no survivors. The official story claimed it was a solar flare, but Earth's deep space scanners knew the truth. It wasn't nature, it was murder. The evidence was clear, the explosion pattern, the missing materials. Even a faint alien energy signature left behind. Earth kept the findings hidden. They didn't cry, they didn't yell. They simply marked the moment in silence. The human leaders held a private meeting. President Elias, an old soldier with tired eyes, stood before the Global Council and said, "This is not the time for anger. This is the time for memory. We will remember who broke the treaty." But outside Earth, the laughing grew louder. The Sarnak Confederation, a powerful alien alliance, whispered in their own tongues, "Humans won't do anything. They are afraid." At the Galactic Council meeting, a Sarnak ambassador openly mocked Earth. He said, "You send peace ships, not war fleets. You bring flowers to a battlefield. You are children in a universe of warriors." The room chuckled. Even some of Earth's allies smiled politely. But the humans didn't respond. Their eyes remained calm. Their hands remained still, but their memory recorded every word. Commander Alara, head of Earth's diplomatic fleet, stood outside the council chamber that night. She looked up at the stars and whispered, "Not yet, but soon." Meanwhile, Earth's intelligence teams uncovered secret transmissions. The Sarnak had been planning for months. The attack on the colony wasn't an accident. It was a test. To see how far humanity could be pushed, Earth's generals wanted to strike. But the president held them back. "Let them write their story with lies," he said. "We will write ours with truth. And when we act, it will be the final page." In hidden underground labs, AI systems ran millions of simulations. They calculated how long it would take Earth to dismantle the Sarnak fleet. Not win. Dismantle every move, every ship, every planet, all analyzed. Silently, Earth prepared. But still, on the surface, Earth smiled. They helped rebuild a moon station near Sarnak space. They gifted medical pods to the very species who plotted behind their backs. And all across the galaxy, the message was the same. Earth is peaceful. Too peaceful. Then came the second attack. Another colony gone. This time, there was no solar flare to blame. This time, the galaxy heard a whisper. A human child's voice recorded before the destruction. She said, "The stars are falling, but I still believe in peace." That voice played across Earth's networks, across human ships, stations, and homes. And for the first time in generations, humanity cried together. But after the tears, there was silence. And in that silence, something shifted. Commander Elera received the go code. She stood before her fleet and said only 2 words. They chose. Back at the Galactic Council, the Sarnak ambassador received a strange package. Inside was a single white feather. On Earth, a symbol of peace. But in human history, a sign of what happens when peace is betrayed, the message was clear. Treaties they broke would not be repaired. They would be remembered. And now, Earth was done waiting. The last peace mission, the stars outside the Galactic Council station were calm. But inside the station, tension filled every hallway. Everyone had heard the whispers. Another human colony had vanished. And yet again, Earth had not declared war. Most called it weakness. Others called it fear. But one person knew better. Commander Ilara. She wasn't just a soldier. She had been chosen by Earth's Global Council for one last task. Not to fight. Not to punish. But to try, one last time, to speak peace into a galaxy full of betrayal. Her ship, the Solace, was the smallest vessel Earth had ever sent to a council mission. No escorts, no weapons on display, just her. And a message. She walked through the council gates dressed in Earth's blue diplomatic coat. The same coat worn by the first human envoy 100 years ago. But unlike them, she walked through silent stares and mocking smirks. The Sarnak delegation turned away. A few others laughed softly under their breath. One even muttered, "Here comes the begging." But Ilara didn't flinch. She didn't bow. She stood tall and began to speak. "You call us weak because we choose mercy," she said. "You laugh because we do not strike. But I have come not to beg. I've come to warn you." The room fell quiet, not out of respect, but confusion. "You've mistaken our silence for surrender," she continued. "You've mistaken our forgiveness for fear, but you have not seen the storms we hold back. You have not felt the weight of Earth's patience." One of the Sarnak leaders leaned forward and sneered. "You threaten us with poetry now?" More laughter followed. Ilara's eyes never moved. Her voice didn't rise. She simply said, "This is your final moment. Turn back, stop the attacks, or Earth will respond in a way the stars will remember forever." The Sarnak chief rose and clapped slowly, mocking her. "You send a woman in soft clothes, no army, no ships, and expect us to be afraid?" He turned to the others. "This is the mighty Earth?" he said, laughing. "Where is your power? Where is your strength?" Ilara looked around the room, then said quietly, "Still resting, but not for long." And with that, she left. No one stopped her. No one applauded. No one took her seriously. But high above the council planet, in the shadow of a broken moon, a satellite built by humans activated. It sent out a silent pulse, a signal that reached the hidden corners of space where Earth's fleets had been waiting, not waiting to strike, waiting for a reason the Fury Protocol had not been spoken aloud in over 200 years. But now it was echoing in every secret command post Earth owned. It was simple. Prepare all. Meanwhile, the Sarnak warlords launched their next step. They moved ships closer to human-controlled trade routes. They jammed communications between Earth and its allies. And they started building something deep in the darkness of Sector 14. Something large, something designed to end Earth's existence in one strike. But Earth knew, they had always known, because while the galaxy laughed at their mercy, they forgot one thing. Humans watched everything on Earth. The president stood before the Council of Global Command. He looked at a large screen showing the intercepted alien construction. He placed a feather on the table, the same kind Ilara had delivered. "This was our warning," he said. They ignored it. General Malik, head of Earth's orbital defense, asked, "Do we wait?" The president nodded. "One more move," he said. "Let them write their final insult. Then—" We turned the page. Back at the Galactic Council, Ilara was packing her things. Her mission was complete. She gave them one last chance, and they spat on it. As she walked to her ship, a young alien girl stopped her. She had tears in her eyes. "Will Earth really destroy us?" she asked. Ilara looked at her, placed a hand gently on her shoulder, and said, "Earth will protect what matters, even if it breaks us to do so." She boarded the Solace. The engines hummed softly. As she rose into the black sky, a message came through her private channel. It was one word, from Earth's command. "Unleash." Ilara closed her eyes. Peace had been offered, mercy had been mocked. Now, the silence of Earth was ending, and the galaxy was not ready. Fire over Europa was silent. The icy moon floated above Jupiter, wrapped in a blanket of light and frost. Below the surface, beneath layers of frozen oceans, human scientists worked in peace. They believed the galaxy would respect the treaties. They believed the Council would choose reason. They were wrong. At 0200 station time, the walls shook, a tremor, then a second. Then a thunder of explosions ripped through the research dome. The quiet world of Europa shattered in seconds. From above, dozens of stealth ships decloaked, Sarnak assassins moved in fast. They didn't come for war. They came for erasure. To erase the proof. To erase the voices. To erase the humans who had always offered peace. But Earth wasn't sleeping anymore. In deep orbit above Europa, hidden inside a mining station, an Earth Defense Corps satellite watched. Its name was Vigil 1, and it had been waiting. The moment the Sarnak fired their first missile, Vigil 1 sent a signal across light years. To Mars, to Luna, to Earth, and to Protocol Celestial, which meant only one thing: strike back instantly, without mercy, within minutes. Earth's orbital drones swarmed into the darkness. They didn't send a warning. They didn't ask for surrender. They acted silent, perfect, invisible. The drones moved with the precision of cold anger. One by one, the Sarnak ships exploded. Without sound, no escape, no survivors. The moon's frozen surface lit up with fire. And above the ruins of the station, a message began to play on every known frequency. Human voices, calm and clear. This was the second betrayal. There will not be a third. On Earth, the president stood in the war room. The room was quiet as he listened to the report. Europa had fallen, but the attackers were gone. All of them, erased without a single human ship entering combat directly. The AI had done its work. General Malik looked up. "They'll know now," he said. "They'll understand we were never weak." But the president shook his head. "No," he replied. "They'll understand when the fire spreads to their doorstep." Far from Earth, in the neutral sector, other alien leaders watched the events in fear. They had always seen humans as patient, but they had never seen them angry. Now they realized the stories were true, the same stories their ancestors had buried, of the old Earth wars, of what humans do when pushed too far. Back on Europa, a rescue team landed 9 hours after the battle. They expected death, but instead, they found something else. In the heart of the station's ruins, a young human engineer had survived, barely breathing, her arm broken, her face burnt, but alive. When they lifted her from the ice, she whispered one thing before fainting. "They said we wouldn't fight back." Her name was Dr. Riley Kwan, and her survival became a symbol across Earth's colonies, a reminder that mercy does not mean surrender, and forgiveness does not mean forgetfulness. That same day, Earth released surveillance footage to the galaxy, video proof of the Sarnak war crimes. Unedited, raw, undeniable. The explosions, the bodies, the attackers, all visible, all real. And Earth made no demands, no speeches, no declarations. Only one message repeated over and over again. In every alien language, mercy has ended. At the Galactic Council, panic grew. Ambassadors argued, blamed one another. The Sarnak claimed it was a rogue unit, but no one believed them anymore. Not after the second colony, not after Europa. Behind closed doors, smaller species began reaching out to Earth, offering support, intelligence, even weapons, not because they loved Earth, but because they feared what would happen next. They had seen the fire, and they knew it was only beginning. Meanwhile, Alara stood aboard the Solace, watching the stars burn from orbit. She knew what came next. Not more speeches, not more negotiations. The phase had changed from diplomacy to reckoning. She placed a single feather into a case, sealed it. and launched it toward the Galactic Council. As a message, the same white feather, symbol of peace offered. Now a final warning. Again, but this time, the feather floated through the stars with blood on its tip. Because Europa had burned, and Earth was no longer waiting. The Fury Protocol, they called it a myth, a whisper buried in Earth's oldest military archives, a warning system from a time when humans still fought each other, but it was never deleted. It was never forgotten. It was waiting, and now it had been activated. They called it the Fury Protocol. It wasn't a weapon. It was a decision, a switch that, once flipped, could not be undone. It meant Earth had stopped asking. It meant Earth would no longer show mercy. From the black oceans of Neptune's orbit to the firelit skies above Mars, human fleets began to move. Warships that had rested for decades came alive. Engines roared in the silence of space, hundreds of them, each built not for intimidation, but for conclusion. The command center under Mount Erebus in Antarctica lit up. Red lights glowed across holographic maps, artificial minds linked together. In a silent, perfect chain, their job was simple. Track every hostile ship, calculate every outcome, strike with zero hesitation. The galaxy had seen Earth's patience. Now it would witness Earth's precision. In orbit around Titan, Earth's hidden shipyard, open for the first time in 100 years. Inside were the Valkyrie-class carriers, built in secret, powered by quantum fusion. Each ship had no crew. Only one goal: deliver judgment on Luna. Soldiers lined up in silence. Not cheering, not shouting, just calm, focused preparation. Because this war was not about pride. It was about loss. It was about the colonies. It was about Europa. Commander Alara stood on the deck of the Solace, watching the orders come in. She was no longer a peace envoy. She had become something else, not a diplomat, but a blade. She walked into the command chamber and looked at her officers. Each one had served during the peace era. Each one had believed Earth would never have to fight again. Now they waited for her words. She said only this: they crossed the line. Now we erase the map. At the same moment, thousands of Earths. Satellites broadcast a single message to the entire galaxy. Translated into every known language, it said, "You mocked our mercy. You ignored our warnings. You broke the treaties. Now you will face the fury." The Sarnak High Command scrambled. They had expected another diplomatic message, another plea. They did not expect Earth to move like this. Fast, coordinated, terrifying. Within 2 hours, 3 of their outposts were gone. No survivors, no alarms, just silence. Followed by black smoke and broken signals, they tried to fight back. But Earth's weapons were invisible, drones the size of insects. AI-controlled missiles that changed course mid-flight. Ghost fleets that moved without trace. One by one, the Sarnak systems began to fall. Their mighty warships exploded from the inside. Their leaders received strange gifts, copies of the treaties they had signed, now marked with blood-red lines. Other species watched from afar. Some hid, some fled, some sent messages of apology. But Earth didn't answer, because the Fury Protocol was still active. And until every system involved in the betrayals was neutralized, there would be no pause. In Earth's orbit, President Elias watched the battle maps. He said nothing for a long time, then finally whispered, "We waited, we forgave. They taught us that patience has limits." General Malik stood beside him. "The Council will panic," he said. "They'll call us monsters." The President nodded slowly. "We showed them our soul. They spat on it. Let them fear our shadow." Now, back on the front lines, Commander Ilara led her fleet into the ruins of the 4th Sarnak moon base. As her ship passed the smoking debris, she received a message, a distress signal from a neutral world. Children injured by a recent battle. They weren't human, they weren't allies, but Ilara gave the order instantly. Send help. Because Earth's fury was focused, It wasn't rage without control. It was justice with purpose. And even in fire, humanity remembered who they were. But the galaxy didn't know that yet. All they saw now was the storm. And that storm had only just begun. They fled from the blue planet. No one ever thought they would run from Earth. The blue planet was once seen as kind, soft, peaceful, a home of music, stories, and science. The galaxy had admired its art, not its armies, but now they were running. Not from its weapons, from its will. The Fury Protocol spread faster than the Council could react. In every corner of the stars, Earth's fleets arrived without warning. They didn't invade. They didn't conquer. They erased only the ones involved in betrayal, Sarnak outposts, allies of the ambush, silent supporters, all marked, all gone. Entire Sarnak colonies packed and fled without even sending distress calls. Mothers held children close. Soldiers threw down weapons before a single human ship appeared. They had learned a new word, a human word, whispered in every hallway. Reckoning. Above the gas giant Yalara, an alien general begged to surrender. He opened every channel and broadcast. We never fired. We never attacked your people. Please, don't send Earth's fire. But Earth's response was chilling. Not loud, not angry, just a single image, a feather, dipped in black ash, and under it the message. Your silence was your answer. In one system, 12 Sarnak fleets gathered to make a final stand. They believed numbers could stop Earth's fury, but what they didn't expect was silence. Earth ships didn't respond. They didn't warn. They surrounded the fleets in a perfect circle. And in less than 5 minutes, there was nothing left but floating metal and memory. Other alien civilizations started purging their records, destroying evidence that they once mocked Earth. Some burned statues, others erased public speeches. One leader even stepped down, declaring, I will not lead my people into Earth's shadow. The Galactic Council tried to call for an emergency summit, but no one showed up. The chambers were empty, because every race knew. Earth wasn't listening anymore. Back on the Solace, Commander Ilara watched the stars through the glass. Her fleet had moved through 8 sectors in 5 days. No losses, no hesitation, each attack precise, each decision guided by justice. One of her junior officers, a young man from New Mumbai base, looked shaken. He asked, Ma'am, do we become the monsters they claimed we were? Ilara turned to him and said, No, we're not doing this out of hate. We're doing it because peace must be protected, even if it comes through fire. On Earth, President Elias faced a room full of children, survivors from the destroyed Europa Station. He didn't speak like a leader. He knelt down and said, We failed you when we waited. We won't wait again. The children didn't cry. They only nodded, because they had seen what silence had cost. Meanwhile, alien planets began sending tribute ships to Earth. Not gifts of gold or tech, but letters, thousands of them begging for forgiveness, promising peace, offering everything they had in exchange for safety. But Earth didn't respond, because Earth wasn't making deals anymore. Earth was finishing what others had started. In the skies above an ancient alien temple world, a massive projection appeared, a timeline. It showed every treaty Earth had signed, and every time those treaties were broken. One by one, the audience watched the dates appear, each betrayal, each ambush, each lie, and then, in the final line, a message. We remember everything. Panic spread. Some alien leaders collapsed in fear. Others fled their palaces. On one broadcast, a Sarnak elder screamed, Please stop. You've made your point. You've proved your power. But there was no answer. Only silence, and the sound of engines moving through space like thunder. Back on Luna Base, Earthsea, I reported an unexpected statistic. The number of surrender messages had now surpassed the number of active enemy ships. More wanted to quit than to fight, because they had seen what happened to those who stayed from the once mocked blue planet. A storm had risen. It did not burn everything, only what deserved to fall. Earth still gave aid to those who never betrayed them. Hospitals were sent to innocent worlds. Food convoys were rerouted to refugee planets. Because Earth had not become cruel, it had simply removed kindness from its enemies. And now, those enemies ran without weapons, without pride, without hope. They fled from the planet they once called soft, because now they knew the truth. The blue planet was not a flower, it was a blade, and it remembered who laughed. The voice of Earth, the chamber of the Galactic Council, had never been so quiet. Once it echoed with speeches, debates, and laughter at Earth's mercy. Now it held only silence. No one dared speak first, not after what had happened in the last 9 days. Planets had fallen, fleets had vanished, and yet Earth had not sent a king, a general, or a machine to speak. They had sent a child. She was just 12 years old. Her name was Lyra Chun, the last survivor of Earth's Vega research base, a base that was destroyed before the first retaliation. The child who had watched her parents die behind, reinforced glass, and who now stood before the most powerful species in the galaxy. Unafraid, they expected her to cry, to beg, to stumble, but she looked at each of them with steady eyes, as if she had lived through 10 lifetimes, because in a way, she had. The council moderator, a trembling alien of the Vorith species, said softly, "Earth has chosen you to speak?" Lyra nodded once. "I was there when you looked away," she said. "When you heard our cries and called it politics. When you said it wasn't your concern." Some of the council members shifted in their seats. One tried to interrupt, but Lyra raised her hand gently, and the entire chamber fell silent again. "My people didn't want war," she continued. "We offered help. We healed your sick. We shared our skies. We shared our dreams." Her voice didn't rise. It didn't tremble. It simply told the truth. "You broke every promise. You laughed at our silence. You called us cowards because we didn't answer with fire." She took one slow breath. "And now you see the fire. Now you run from it. Now you call it unfair." The Sarnak representative stood up, voice shaking. "You've made your point, child. Earth has proven its strength." But Lyra shook her head. This wasn't about proving strength. It was about remembering pain. She opened a small device and placed it on the council floor. From it, a hologram rose, a recording of her younger brother, laughing as he built a model spaceship. The room was silent as the boy's voice echoed through the chamber. Then the sound cut sharply. An alarm, a scream, static. The recording ended. Lyra turned to the council. "That was the last sound I heard from my family." She looked at the Sarnak delegate. "And your soldiers said it was necessary." She looked at the others. "And none of you said no." The air inside the chamber felt heavy. Leaders who had once mocked Earth now stared at their hands. Others wiped their eyes, because for the first time, they saw not a planet of warriors, but a planet of people, of mothers, fathers, children, of hearts that broke just like theirs. Lyra's final words were simple. "Mercy is not weakness. It's a choice. One we gave you, again and again. You threw it away." She turned to leave. But just before the chamber doors opened, she stopped and said, "Earth doesn't want to rule. We want to heal. But we will never bleed quietly again." She walked out, her footsteps echoing across marble floors. No applause, no cheers, just silence. The kind that stays inside bones. Back on the Solace, Commander Ilara watched the broadcast from orbit, and for the first time in days, she smiled. President. Elias watched from Earth's Unity Hall and closed his eyes. Because he knew this war had changed more than borders, it had changed perception. It had restored humanity's voice, not through weapons, but through a child's truth across the galaxy. Lyra's message was replayed on billions of screens. On ships, in schools, in homes, some cried, some apologized, some simply stood and listened. The message was clear. Earth was no longer silent, but Earth was still human, and that made all the difference. The new order of the stars, the war didn't end with an explosion. It ended with silence, a silence so deep that stars seemed to pause in their burning. Across the galaxy, ships stopped moving, weapons powered down, eyes turned toward one planet, the one they once laughed at, the one they now feared, Earth. But Earth did not celebrate. There were no fireworks, no victory parades, only rebuilding, only memory, and the echo of voices that were lost. The Fury Protocol was shut down. Its final action, to lock itself forever, only to be opened again if mercy was forgotten once more. The machines went quiet, the soldiers returned home. And Earth did something the galaxy didn't expect. It forgave, not with words, but with action. In the ruins of Sarlacc cities, human engineers arrived, not with weapons, but with tools. They rebuilt homes. They treated the injured. They restored the power grids they had disabled only weeks ago. And when alien children asked why, the humans simply said, "Because that's who we are." The Galactic Council tried to elect a new High Chancellor, but no one accepted the seat. Each species stepped back, ashamed of their silence during Earth's suffering. Finally, they looked toward Earth, but Earth refused to lead. Instead, it offered something else, something new, a council of equals, led not by war heroes, but by survivors, people like Lyra Chun, now 15. Still young, but wise with pain and purpose, Lyra became the first speaker of peace, a new role never held before. Her job was simple, to remind the galaxy of what it cost when kindness was ignored. She did not wear armor. She wore the same clothes she wore the day she stood in the council and changed everything. Under her voice, Earth helped build the Pact of Remembering, a new system of laws, not for control, but for protection. A promise that no race, no child, no colony would be left unheard again. In Sector 9, a monument was built. It floated in space where the Vega research base once stood. It bore a single phrase, "Mercy is not weakness," and under it, the names of every soul lost in the betrayals. Human and alien alike on Earth, President Elias stepped down. He gave his last speech in front of the Unity Flame. He said, "We defended our world, but we must never forget what we defended it for. Not pride, not revenge, but the right to be human." Commander Alara retired to the moon gardens of Luna. Visitors often found her sitting under artificial cherry blossoms, telling stories to alien students about the days before the fire, and the courage it took to stay kind, even when the galaxy turned cold. And across the stars, change rippled. Old empires fell, new friendships rose, trade routes reopened, and Earth's ships now carried not just supplies, but hope, and sometimes songs, because that's what made humans different. They remembered, they rebuilt, and they still sang. Even after everything burned, the galaxy no longer called Earth weak. They called it something else. Something stronger than fear, stronger than fire. They called it the Guardian Planet. And children of all races grew up learning a new history, not just of war and fury, but of a people who waited, warned, and when they were finally pushed too far, stood up not to destroy the stars, but to wake them. Now, under the new order of the stars, Earth shines not as a conqueror, but as a light, a reminder that mercy is power, that peace must be protected, and that silence, when broken, can shake the universe. And in the dark corners where new shadows begin to grow, those who dare to plot remember this. They laughed at humanity's mercy, but Earth had the last word, and it changed everything.